Welcome back, guys. Hope you're doing great. Well, in this React series, we've been discussing a lot of important concepts like hooks, custom hooks, and building custom components and reusable components completely from the scratch. So, if you're watching this series for the very first time, so I strongly recommend you to go ahead and watch all these previous videos to understand it much better. So, click the top right corner so you can see that React playlist. So, go ahead and watch that first, and then you can start watching this. Well, basically in this video we are going to discuss about the models, right? So without using any external packages, like there are different packages out there, right, for using the React models, like bringing a pop-up. So how we are going to build a pop-up? So basically we are going to design the models, because models are everywhere in a real world applications for confirmations on in the form confirmations and alert messages, right? So in this video, we build a fully reusable production ready model system using Tailwind CSS for materialistic UI. Then we're going to use the Zustand for the global state. Then we're going to use the React portals to create the models. Then we are going to use the keyboards and click accessibilities also, because if you click outside the model, it needs to be closed, and if you click escape key, it needs to be closed, and on a very specific key combination, it helps. If you want to open it also, it should be open the model as well, as right. So now let's go ahead and start design the folder structure first. So just like we've been using the same project which we discussed in the previous sections. So we have the hooks folders, components folders, and everything. Okay. So we need to create the model store. Then we need to create a custom hook to close the model while you're clicking outside. Then we need to structure the model components, the entire model header, model footer, and the model overlay effects. All right, these are the things. So in this first stuff, we are going to do the model global state, right? A model global UI state. We are going to build it by using the Zustand. It's because Zustand is perfect because it doesn't have any provider components, and it does need a minimal boilerplate code, and you can open the model from anywhere inside your component. Okay, so get into the store, and I'm going to create myself. And in a real-time example, like for search, you have a different model, search model, a store, and for authentications and for confirmations and for alert notifications, you just have to create the multiple, like store for each and every model separately. So you can use the same component with a different store model. It's going to help you to reuse the same component code. Okay, so here I'm just going to create, for the time being, use model store.js. That's the custom hook that we are going to design now. So here we have to import from Zustand. So Zustand is a state library. You have to download it manually by using npm add Zustand, or you can click install npm install Zustand, because we already installed this in the previous video itself. So I'm just going to say create. That helps us to create it. Then I'm gonna create a function, export const use model store is equals to create. Okay, it's going to say, get a parameter called set. Then it's going to return a value as an object, break it. Then here I just need to define the initial states. Is open is the false one, and the content, what content that you're going to render inside your model container. So initially it's going to be null. Then we have the open model function, which is going to carry on the content that the content which is going to be rendered inside the model container. Then using the set function, I'm going to set the values for these objects. For is open, it's going to be true, and the content, I'm going to assign the content directly itself. Just like the same way, I'm going to have the close model as well, as which is going to be set open the object is open, which is going to be false. Then the content, which is going to be null. Okay, this is the state. That's it. So the key point over here is the content, because maybe the user, if he's trying to reuse the same code, he wished to keep a different contents inside the models containers, right? So at that point, sending the children component into the model would be the great option. So that's the reason we are sending the content over here, right? And the open model, which helps the to bring the which accepts the UI to display in the screen, and the closed model, which simply close the model UI. Okay, this is it, simple actions. Now we have to create a very custom hook, because we want the model need to be closed when you are clicking outside, right? This logic should be reusable, so we have to create a custom hook. So get into the hooks folder, hooks, and here I'm gonna say use or what we can say, use click outside. That would be reasonable, click outside.js. Okay, so here let's bring the use effect hook from the React. That's only we needed. Then export const use click outside is equals to an arrow function, open it. So basically this function is going to collect two different parameters. One is the reference from which place we are accessing it, then the handler, what function that we want to do. And inside here I'm going to bring the use effect hook, use effect hook. It's going to take two different parameters. One is the function and another one is the array dependency injections, right? If any changes in the reference or in the handlers, you just have to re-render this use effect. And here I'm going to create myself a listener event, which is going to be an arrow function, and send the event as the parameter. If I don't have the reference, if we don't have the reference, or if the reference current dot contains the event dot target. This is the two different conditions that we are trying to do over here. If it is contained, then I just have to return. Okay. Otherwise, what I need to do, I need to call that handler function. That's it. Okay, if I don't have the reference itself, or if the reference holds the current target, which means the model has been opened, I just have to return. I don't want to do anything else. If it is not, then I just need to call the handler function, right? So which means when the user clicks outside, he wants to close it. So here I'm going to say document dot add event listener. We need to add the event listener for the document. Then I'm going to bring the mouse down event listener. Then I'm going to listen to this function, listener function. Then we have to clean up this function. So at the end, return, have a callback function. Then here I just need to say document dot remove event listener with the same mouse down event, and send the same listener function over here as a reference. This is it. This is the custom hook that we built. So basically this listens on the document if, and it will checks if there is a click is on the outside the reference or inside the reference of that current model. If it is inside the model click, it should not be closed. But if it is outside the model reference, you should close it. So that's the part which is referred over here. So the reference dot current, if I don't have that current reference, think about it. This is the let me bring where it is. Wait a minute. Yep. So here let's say this is the model area, right? This is the model area. So when you're clicking inside, this is the model area. So if I don't have this model area reference also, I need to return it. Or if the reference current contains the event target, which means this is the event target, if you click inside the model area, you should not close it. So that's why we are returning it. But when you click outside the model area over here, if you click outside over here, I need to close the model, right? So that's the duty of this line condition over here. Okay, so and then by the end we need to clean up this listener event. So that's the reason we are closing it properly. So this cleanups properly as well as. Okay, so now we have to bring the model overlays, model header component, and the model what say the list of sections that the UI part for each and every area, right? The inside the model area we need to cover the every aspects. So first we need to bring the overlay, which because when you're opening it, we need to make some blur effects of the background area. Otherwise the model doesn't shows as a unique one. So in order to do that, we need to create a model overlay, then footer, model header, and the center area, the model content area, right? The main model content area. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create myself a components over here, a new folder called model. And inside the model, I'm going to create myself a modal.jsx file. And for the time being here, it is going to be model. Okay. So, mm, 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 mm. All right. So let's design it first. So in the model, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to access those custom hooks over here first. So const is equals to use model store, open it, use model store. And here I'm just going to say is open, bring these open content and the close, no need of content, but we, uh, 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 yep, content that we, yes, we need that. Okay. So bring it over here. Then I need to get the model reference. So const model reference is equals to, let's bring that react dot use a reference hook. Okay, so let's, because since we imported the react directly, we can access the use reference directly like itself, or you can import the use reference separately and you can use that instance alone. Okay, and initially the enough reference hook is going to be null reference, which is perfect. Now I need to bring the use click outside. So use click outside hook, bring that as well as, and I need to supply the model reference to it, model reference. Then I need to send the listener handler, which is basically going to be the close model as a reference. Send that as a reference into that function. Now we need to bring the use effect, because every time whenever you click the escape key, we need to close it. And every time when you press the certain keyboard combination, like think about it, you have a search bar, when you click Control K, you need to open that model. So for that also we need to do some stuff. So here use effect hook, bring that use effect hook. We can use the react dot use effect hook, which is going to take an arrow function as well as the array dependency injection. Inside the array dependency injection, you just have to supply the reference of your close model. Okay, every time when the close model is being triggered, you just need to re-render it. So here I just need to say const handle escape key is equals to an event. We are basically, we are going to trigger the event and access the event. So here, if that event dot key, if the event dot key, which is equals to escape key, if it is equals to escape key, all we have to do is to call the close model function. That's it. We don't have to do anything else. Then right after here, I just have to close the document dot add event listener. Then here I just need to say key down. Then I just need to call handle escape. Then at the end, I just have to return document dot remove event listener. Here supply the key down and handle escape. Okay, this is for close model. Now think about it, if you want to open the model as well as, right? So in that case, we need to figure it out the key codes. Okay, so basically this functions which is work perfectly for like what to say, for escaping it, but we need to rewrite this code, or we can create a separate use effects to handle the opening functions. But I don't think so having it two different for use effect. We can alter this code itself. Okay, so what we can do is, so instead of um make it as handle escape, I can change this into handle key down function, something like that. So this is the place where we are checking if the event.key is equals to escape, then we are closing it, right? Yep, we can keep that part. And before that, here first I need to figure it out on which platform that is being currently loaded, Mac or Linux or Windows, because for Linux and Windows control key will work, but for Mac we need to go for command key, right? So in that situation, I need to figure out whether it is a Mac or Linux. So is Mac is equals to, using the navigator object navigator instance by default in JavaScript, we can figure out the platform. So the platform, we can convert it everything into an uppercase to an uppercase. Then we can figure it out whether that is includes this Mac in that array. which means it is loaded in the Mac. And if that says so, then we need to figure out the which key, command or control. So const is command or control, which is equals to, if it is Mac, if it is Mac, you have to use the event dot meta key, because that's the key they use for the for what, for the command. If not, then we need to use the control key. Okay, so right after that I'm going to write an if condition. So if is command or control, right? If I do have some key, then only I need to trigger this event. So event dot key, event dot key dot to lower case, which is equals to k. Okay, we have to convert it into a lowercase. Then we are trying to figure it out, because but we need to figure out whether that user is pressing control or command. We need to have both of the keys, either control or command. Then along with that, the user needs to press the k. If that is equals to, if both of the, if the user pressing control k or command k, then I need to trigger the event over here. Here I just need to prevent event dot prevent default refresh. Basically we just need to prevent the browser search, right? So that's why prevent default, whatever the actions the default that key does have, prevent it, you have to stop it. Then here I need to open your model. So for opening the model, you have to get your open model instance, as well as bring that open model instance as well as over here, then supply that open model reference over here, which is pretty much good enough. Okay, okay, so for this, all right, so let's save these changes. Okay, so for the later, we need to send the content over here, right? Okay, let's figure it out that part later, but try right now. We hope sure this, let's send a div, let's send a children over here div, let's say search model content, something like this for the time being. Okay, let's keep it in that way. Then right after that, we are basically cleaning it up properly, as well as key down, and here also it's been cleaned up properly. Okay, so now this is pretty much good enough, that's more than enough. And at the end, this model should not be open. When, if I don't have this is open, it needs to return null. I don't want to open it. Okay, here it should be if condition. If it is not open, I just need to return it as a null. Otherwise what I'm going to do, this is the place where we are going to create that portal. So let's create portal. So from the React DOM, make sure it has been imported from React DOM. Use this create portal function. This helps us to create that pop-up. Okay, and here we need to bring that model overlay. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create myself no, we don't need to, of course we need to export it, right? uh mm, mm, mm. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, so let's create it as a separate component itself. Not necessary to keep it as a separate component. Okay, so what we can do is, instead of exporting default like this, so I can simply export it as the model from here. Then I can generate the model overlay. Model overlay is equals to something like this, an arrow function. Okay, that's pretty much good enough. And here I just need to return, oops, oh come on, return a division. Okay, so basically the model overlay, which is going to have the background effects for that. So let's create a div. For that, we're going to have a class name which is going to be fixed on top of it, right? Fixed. Then inside, we need to access, we need to pinpoint the all the top, left, right and bottom corner, and it should be on top of every layer. Okay, so here basically I'm going to bring the white layer, so or you can use the black color itself, but I need the 20 percentage or 80 percentage of that black color. Okay, let's go with 20 percentage. Later we can customize it, or let's check together with 40. Okay, then flex item center, everything needs to be the center. Then the backdrop area needs to be blur. Okay, we can make it a blur a little bit, so smaller, something like this. Okay, then we need to let me word wrap it so you can see it completely. So here I'm gonna bring the children, because this is the place where we are going to render the custom component code inside this children prop. This is the place where we need to bring the children node over here. Okay, so now we have the component overlay. Just like the same way, we need to bring ourselves the model, the header component. So let's bring the const model header, which is equals to open it. And this model header is basically going to render your the title and as well as the reference for your. So we need to bring the title, then on close reference. If you want to close your model, you need to send your close reference as well as, right? So return open it, and here I'm going to bring myself a division and class name, which is going to be flex item center justify between, and width of course it needs to be full. Then border needs to be bottom, and border gray needs to be gray 200 or something like this, border gray. Then we need to have some paddings. Px it's going to be 4, py it's going to be 3. Then here I need to bring ourselves that title, so let's bring the title, and right after here let's bring the class name, which is going to be the text. It needs to be larger size, text needs to be larger, font needs to be semi bold, and tracking a little bit wider because the space between little bit wide, letter spacing which I'm talking about. Then text color needs to be neutral 800 or something, dark grayish color, something like that. Then we need to have a button in order to close that. So this button, which is going to be the button itself, then class name, margin left auto, it needs to be all the way to the right side. Then this needs to be like what to say, width this equals to 24 pixels, height needs to be 24 pixels, flex item center justify center, outline we don't need any outline, so outline needs to be none, and border that's also needs to be none. Sorry, we can have a border needs to be gray color. I think border it's not necessary, border is none. And yeah, that's pretty much done. Come on, width is equals to 6, height is also equals to 6. Okay, then the cursor needs to be the pointer, and here I'm going to bring the X, which is the icon from the Lucid React, and the size, which is going to be 14. That's the size of that. Make sure it is being imported from the Lucid React icon package. So don't worry, later we can make some customizations. Right now we are blindly writing the code, and later we can once we deployed it, we can see the UI, how does the UI everything is looks like. Okay, and just like the same way we can bring the model, const model footer as well as footer, which is equals to, if the user wish to render something inside the footer also, he can bring it inside the children stuff in the children, then he can render it written. And here I can simply say div class name, which is going to be flex justify everything in the end section, and gap needs to be 2, width of course needs to be full. Then border, I don't think so, we don't need a border, but okay, let's keep it a border on the top section, border top, and border needs to be gray 200, something like that. Then px it's going to be 4, py it's going to be tree, and inside here I need to render the children. Save it. This is the model footer, right? So we are pretty much done with the model footer, and now we can use these components inside your model, the place where we are creating the portal at this point. So here first I need to bring the model overlay component, inside the model overlay component we have to bring those the entire context, the header stuff and all those things, right? mm, Okay, so I think we made a mistake. Mistake in the sense it's not that much. So instead of sending the content from here, from the state, we need to send the content from the component, not the state. So it's not necessary to have the content over here. So I can simply delete this. Just keep the content over here, change this and remove this content as well as save it. This is not necessary. And let's get back to the model. And basically this over here, we don't need to send that, as well as we can simply ignore it. And instead of getting the content from here, we can delete it, but the model can receive the content, which is going to be the children, right? That's the children. Then along with this, it is going to get the title as well as from the user perspective, it needs to get the title because we need the title for the model header, right? But we can get the user reference, close model reference directly over here, whether the user wants to close it or not. We can get that reference, or even we can send this reference from the outside by the place where we are rendering it. Okay, I think we don't need to have this over here. I can simply send the reference from here, and I can send the close model as well as here. I can send the is open state as well as here, because this needs to be rendered from the outside. These are the things, that stuff that we need to send from the outside, right? From the app.jsx, or the place where we are trying to render the model. That's from that place only you have to bring it. Okay, so save this. Now we don't get any issues because we have all those things. And yep, here I need to bring the model header. And this model header, basically for the header you just need to send the title and the on close. It needs to be a self closing. Then I need to send the title, which is going to be the title itself. Then on close, for that reference you need to send the close model reference. Okay, then right after here I'm gonna bring myself div. Then here I'm going to send the reference, which is going to be the model reference itself, and this is the place where we are going to render the children. And for this we're going to say width, of course it needs to be full. Class name width is going to be full, that's the width. And the maximum width is going to be the medium. Okay, and this is the entire, this header needs to be rendered over here inside the div. Maximum width is this, and rounded it needs to be lg, rounded it needs to be lg, and bg it needs to y, and shadow needs to be medium. I'm gonna add some animations. So animate scale in, this animation we don't have yet, but we have to create it. Now we have the model header in it. Later we can write some custom styles over here for that. And for this, let's keep this as the main content, paste it. This main content needs to have a class name, which is width. It needs to access the complete width. Then right after here I need to bring the model footer as well as only if the user does have some content for the footer. mm, 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 mm. So for that main children this is, and we need to collect the footer. If the user wants to render the footer, then we can come back and render the footer over here, the footer content. the main footer content, we can render it over here. I think for the time being, let's ignore the footer. Let's just do this stuff. Okay, this is pretty much good enough for the time being, I think so. Okay, so I just have to render this. So before rendering this, what we have to do is we need to create a separate DOM for the models. So we have to open the index.html where it is in the index.html. Right after here, copy and paste it, and here I'm just going to change this into model root. That's it. Okay, so opening the model, like it's just a function call, no prop drilling and no coupling. We are not going to use that, but it's just a like the function calls basically. And now let's get into the app.jsx. Okay, inside the app.jsx we have this model example, and this is the place where I'm going to bring that model. I'm going to render that model. So for that model, I need to send all those the references as well as. So let's bring the const is equals to use model store. From the use model store, I'm going to access the content is open, and all those stuff is open, and open model and close model, all those function references as well as, right? Make sure all these things. And here I just need to send all those things. So for the model, it is model that does need a children, right? For this we need to send children. So here title, which is going to be search model, and open model, it's going to be open model itself. Close model, it's going to be close model itself. Then is open is going to be is open itself. Then right after here, I need to render the children, which is going to be currently a paragraph tag, which is going to be search content here, something like that. Save it. Okay, so we are getting an error. What is it? So okay, so currently model is may not be rendering because the state is false. But here I'm going to bring the button to open that model. Open model. Then here I'm just going to class name. Let's say let's say not class name. Save it. Whenever I'm clicking this on click, I need to open the model, right? Save it. Now if I click this, we are getting an error. Okay, so we are getting an error boundary issue over here. It has been opened, but we are getting target container is not a DOM element at model. This point, we are getting an error. Okay, so the blunder mistake we made over here is, so basically we just created the portal, but we created that root element, right, inside the public.html. In the public folder index.html, we created this model root, but we haven't mentioned the new DOM where that model needs to be rendered. We just created the portal, but it doesn't know where it needs to be rendered. So right after here, you need to supply the DOM node where you need to render it. So access the document dot get element by ID over here, then render it inside that model root, which means now you should be able to see that. See, it's rendering over here, which means if I refresh it, either if I press Control K or Command K, it is going to bring that search model, or if I click outside, it's going to close it. If I click open model, it's going to bring it. This is how you can see that the search model content over here, right? And what you need to do is get into the model, and inside the content area, the main content area where you are rendering over here, for that I'm just going to say px, it's going to be 4. So you should have that space. So py, it's going to be 3 as well as you have some nice space over there. I need to render the footer. So here I'm gonna bring the footer children. Okay, then I'm going to supply that footer children for the footer model footer, which is going to be your footer children, which is going to be your footer children. Send it. And let's get back over here as well. As I can simply bring that footer children as well as footer children. Then I can simply render that content as well as over here. Paragraph tag. Uh, Model footer. Okay, so this model footer that needs to be rendered, when it needs to be rendered, only if the user have the footer children, only if that does user have this footer children, at that point only I need to render this footer. So if the user doesn't wants to send the footer, we can simply ignore it. But if the user sends the footer, it is going to render the data, something like this. So if I click the close mark, it needs to close, which it's not happening currently. So let's get into the button, and on click I'm gonna say close model. That's it, that's the reference. So I need to call that on close, right? So call the on close, save it, make sure this property name and this both are same. Now if the user clicks this, it will be closing it, right? If I press Ctrl K, it's going to bring it. Okay, but the problem is everything is happening instantly because we do created this animate scale in the, where did I write animate? Yep, here it is. At this point we created that animate scale in. So I'm gonna copy this styles, then I'm gonna write that styles in our index.html itself. So that's the place where we have to write these styles. Okay, for the animate scale in. So let me open that index.css. So right after here I'm gonna bring the add keyframes, scale hyphen in, open it. So from I need to transform the scale level, scale which is going to be 0.95 from, that's a default, and then opacity which is going to be 0 at the time being. From this point to this point we are going to customize this, transform the scale level into 100% of the scale level, then the opacity which is going to be 1. And right after here I'm going to bring that animate scale in size styles which we created, and we're going to add the animation stuff for that. Bring the scale in animation, which is basically it's going to be 0.15 seconds or 2 seconds as you wish, and then I'm just going to bring ease out, save it. Now refresh it. If I press Ctrl K or Command K, it's going to, you can see that shadow, that little bit effect, and if I click that, it's going to add that. If you are making this as 0.5 seconds, you can see the difference. See, this is it. So but we can keep it as 2 seconds itself, that would be more appropriate, and add the same styles for your model overlay as well as animate scale in. Click it and close it, it's going to close that. Okay, so maybe we don't want to add that, because scale animations, we added the scale animation for, if you add the scale animation for the overlay also, we can see a lag in that on the background overlay. Currently it looks smooth, but if you add the animate scale in, you can see a lag, you can see a lag on that white area, so we don't want to add that for overlay. Okay, so now we have ourselves the pretty much the reusable code. All you have to do if you want to reuse the same model for the different purposes, for instance alert model, all you have to do is to create a separate alert model store and then supply the alert model just like the same way over here. So every time when you press the different keys, open instance for the alert separately, it is going to work as you expected, right? So we successfully created the reusable pop-up window without using any kind of third party. We just created everything completely from the scratch. So if you have any questions in this particular concept, and because we stunned a lot of times during this build, and I know that, and anyways we didn't copy it or paste or any kind of code, but if you have any questions in any point of sections, like any timeline, just pin the timeline and your questions in the comment sections. I'm happy to help you out. right? So please subscribe us for more interesting content if you are watching this video in our channel for the very first time. All right, so let me see you in the next video with a more interesting concept. All right, see you, take care.